All right, so today's lesson is section 9.2. We're going to talk about dividing exponents. We are in a section, a unit where your rules are important. If you can remember the rules, then you'll be able to do the work. So section 9.1, we talked about multiplying exponents, and you learned that when your bases are the same, the shortcut is when the bases are the same and you're multiplying them, you can simply add the two exponents. Well, today's lesson, we're going to find another rule very similar to that when we are dividing. So let's look at example 1. I have two exponents. I have 5 to the 6th divided by 5 squared. Now, if I don't give you a calculator, you would probably have to figure out what 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 is divided by 5 squared. Or, if you remember, you probably learned in the 5th or 6th grade that if you write out all these 5s, so I have 6 5s up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have 2 5s on the bottom. You probably learned sometime a few years ago that you can cancel out the number of 5s that are the same on the top or in the bottom. So if I have 2 5s on the bottom, then I can cancel out 2 5s on the top along with the 2 5s on the bottom. You're left with 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, or 5 to the 4th. Okay? And we would just stop there. Now, there is a pattern between how I ended up with a 4 and the exponents that I started with. Let's look at another one. We're going to stick with base 5. If I have 5 to the 8th divided by 5 to the 4th, well, I could expand that out. That's 8 5s on top. 6, 7, 8. Divided by 4 5s on the bottom. Well, then I can cancel out the number that they share. If there's 4 5s on the bottom, I can cancel out the 4 5s on the top. And I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the 4th. And again, there's a relationship between the exponents that I started with and the exponent that I ended with. It's a pattern. The last example, just so that you can see, for number 3, let's say I have 5 to the 5th divided by 5 to the 8th. That gives me 5 5s on top divided by, yes, 8 5s on the bottom. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me make sure I got that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm still going to cancel out, have 5 5s that they share on the top and bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So everything is knocked out on the top. So that's just going to be a 1. And then I have 3 5s on the bottom. So that's 5 to the 3rd. Again, there is a pattern here. What is that pattern? Hopefully you would recognize that a quicker way to get this 4 would be to subtract 6 minus 2. A quicker way to get this 4 would be to subtract 8 minus 4. And a quicker way to get the 3 would be to subtract 5 minus 8. And the reason why this 3 is on the bottom is because that's a negative 3. So that's the pattern. So what I want you to write is, instead of having to expand the fraction for every expression you're given, I'm just filling in the blank here, there's a shortcut. And the shortcut is, when dividing exponents with the same base, so it has to be the same on the top and bottom, you subtract the exponents. And in the next video, we're going to fill